Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is Sarah van Grenen, aka Mr. VG. And man, I am excited to show you a glimpse into the world of simple interest. Now, simple interest is not an interest where you are going to come across it every day of your life. You might come across it maybe just once or twice because there aren't real big applications. But simple interest, ladies and gentlemen, is actually the foundation of all future interests. So, in our previous video, we went over this whole banking system and why the banks make so much money. But for today's video, we are going to look at investing 3,000 Rand for 4 years at 8% per annum. Remember, that means per year. Simple interest. As I was saying, simple interest, 8% per year. Be careful that you don't confuse simple interest with what we are going to do next year, compound interest. Remember that simple interest is always interest calculated on the initial investment. So I'm always going to earn interest on the 3,000 Rand. No matter how many years it lies in the bank, it's always going to be interest on the 3,000 Rand. For my students, and I advise you to do this, is not just run to a formula, but to actually understand how simple interest works. So how simple interest works is that we are going to say, year one, there's a starting value, there's interest that is being calculated, and then there's an end balance. First of all, I start with 3,000 Rand. Then, at the end of that year, that 3,000 Rand is going to grow with interest. But how much interest? That is going to grow at 8% interest. Meaning, if I put that in my calculator, the amount of interest is 240 Rand. So how much will I then end up with at the end of that year? Remember, I'm taking the 3,000 Rand and I'm adding 240 Rand. So at the end of the year, there's 3,240 Rand. The big question, ladies and gentlemen, is what is going to happen in year two? First of all, I'm going to start with 3,240 Rand. What do you think I'm going to do now with regards to interest? I know what a lot of you might think is, I'm going to take 8% of 3,240. No. Remember, simple interest is interest on the initial investment. So I'm still going to take 3,000 Rand times by 8%, which is 240 Rand. And that's going to be my interest because interest on the initial investment. That is simple interest. So therefore, I'm going to add again 240 Rands worth of interest to my starting balance, which means I end up with 3,480 Rand. What's going to happen in year three, ladies and gentlemen? You go and do it yourself first. In year three, I'm going to start with 3,480 Rand. I'm still going to have 240 Rands worth of interest because it's always interest on the initial investment. And then I'm going to end up with 3,720. What about year four? So it's kind of repetitive years. So in year four, I'm going to sit with 3,720, adding 240 rands worth of interest, and ending up with 3,960 rand. But I know, ladies and gentlemen, that there are formulas. So let's run through these formulas. Taking the investment of 3,000 rand. A lot of you will see this formula. I is equal to P times R times T. Where this comes from, and I'm going to talk you through as I substitute in. The P value is your starting investment. Always, P is what we call the principal amount, okay? The principal. Then, your R is going to be your interest rate, okay? So that is going to be your interest rate. Next up, you are going to have your T, which is going to be your time. If I substitute this in, remember this is the total amount of interest earned. I'm sitting there with 3,000 times by 8% times by 4 years. Now, if I calculate this step by step, and I want to do it step by step, that 3,000 times by 8% gives me 240. Doesn't it look familiar? That was my interest for every year. And for how many years am I going to earn interest? For 4 years. So that gives me a total amount of interest of 960 rand, which is, ladies and gentlemen, just basically saying, there I've got P times R times T. Every one of these is P times R. And because there are 4 years, I'm going to say the 240 times by 4 years. So let's quickly get back to our sum. Okay? If I look at this, I now have to go and simply take my principal amount and add the total amount of interest to that. So I'm going to say 3,000 plus 960, which gives me a final amount, an A value, and we use A to say accumulated value. Oh my goodness, accumulated value. So that is kind of my end value, is 3,960 rand, which is exactly what we got by doing it step by step by step. The question that I want to ask is then, why would we want to do it step by step by step? Well, first of all, so that you understand what is happening. Don't just use formulas. Secondly, if you ever go towards Math Lit doesn't use formulas. They require you to do it year by year by year by year. So it is important that you be able to fill in the table, whether you do maths or Math Lit. Maths for the understanding about what's happening, Math Lit because it's actually being asked in your exams. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I'm looking forward to showing you where simple interest is going to be used in real life applications. So this is Mr. VG signing out. Have a beautiful and amazing rest of your day, ladies and gents. Keep well. Cheers.